Now, this is Fraser Anning, an Australian senator. He's refusing to apologise after being accused of racism for his maiden speech this Tuesday. Here's a little of it.
The majority of Muslims in Australia of working age do not work and live on welfare. Muslims in New South Wales and in Victoria are 3 times more likely than other groups to be convicted of crimes. We have black African Muslim gangs terrorising Melbourne. We have ISIS sympathising Muslims trying to go overseas to fight for ISIS. And while all Muslims are not terrorists, certainly all terrorists these days are Muslims.
So that's Fraser Anning giving his maiden speech in the Australian Senate. He also said this.
The final solution to the immigration problem, of course, is a popular vote.
There it is, the phrase final solution, nowadays pretty much synonymous with the culmination of the Holocaust, in which 6 million Jews were murdered by the Nazis. Unsurprisingly, the speech caused outrage. Parliamentary motions were passed today censuring Mr Anning, and here's the Australian Prime Minister.
There is no place in Australia for racism. We are the most successful multicultural society in the world. We are a migration nation. Our immigration program is non-discriminatory. The White Australia policy was abolished by my predecessor as Prime Minister and Liberal leader, Harold Holt. Senator Anning's remarks are appalling. I condemn them and I reject them in their entirety.
Well, as the New York Times notes, even the far-right politician Pauline Hanson, who once wore a burqa on the floor of the Senate as a stunt, called Senator Fraser Anning's speech appalling. But Mr Anning is refusing to apologise. Here he is speaking to the media a little earlier.
Talk to the people of Australia that I do in bars and in crib huts and places, and you'll find that most of them would like to back exactly what I said.
Well, the leader of Mr Anning's party, Bob Katter, has also been unrepentant, and he called the speech absolutely magnificent and everything that the country should be doing. Let's talk to Georgina Smythe, who's a BBC journalist here in the newsroom. And Georgina, I mean, first of all, what's the general public reaction been like?
Well, widespread condemnation in Australia certainly set the tone for this response. As we've seen, Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull has rejected the comments. Opposition leader Bill Shorten labelled them as repugnant. But the most sort of surprising reaction has been from Pauline Hanson. She labelled the speech as appalling, despite also calling for a ban on Muslim immigration in 2016. So it's certainly not the first time we've seen a stunt or comments like this in Australian politics. It's unlikely to be the last. Despite Australia's tight control of its borders, immigration is a hot topic. It's incredibly divisive and it's something that people enjoy talking about. Mr Anning made some heavy allusions to the White Australia policy in his speech, which of course was the banning of non-Europeans immigrating to Australia until the 1960s when it was abolished. But here we can see the legacy is still very much alive, and themes around those policies still very much inform the discourse on immigration in Australia. So I suppose similar to public opinion in the UK after former Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson's comments on the burqa, very controversial comments, people in Australia and voters in Australia enjoy having representatives that say things that others won't, and they'll continue to vote them in.
Tell us about this party, the Katter Australian Party, that he is a member of.
Katter's Australian Party is a minor party in Australia. It represents a very conservative region in far north Queensland. Bob Katter is its very outspoken and a Kubra hat-wearing leader. He's known for being very controversial in his comments. So, in a sense, his support of his senator doesn't come as a surprise. His small minor party, like other minor parties in Australia, they really anchor themselves in with a few key issues, and they defend these key issues quite aggressively. They're quite good at igniting public opinion, as they have done now. So they really sort of help set an agenda in Australian politics. So despite the fact that they're quite small, they often are quite good at breaking monopolies in the upper and lower house of Australian Parliament. So despite the fact that they're small, they look minor, they actually can have a big say on big issues. So they can be influential when they want to be.